Hey, this is Mark Henry, author of Dancing with Energy, Healing, Magic, and Mysticism, here to talk to you more about the occult and the paranormal. Well, today I'm going to be exploring the personality characteristics of occultists. But before we begin, as usual, I just wanted to mention that I added a new attunement to my Etsy attunement store. For those people who are fans of my store, I just added the Genius of Shadow attunement. So if you all are interested in understanding your shadow, your dark side, and using it to enhance your life, to grow, to heal, this is for you. There are going to be 7 spirits that are attached to it that can help you, the genius spirits. Okay, so let's begin the video. So like I said, the title is Exploring Personality Characteristics of Occultists. So what we're going to be doing with this is we're discussing briefly the 5-factor model. Now, it's a 5-factor model of personality. So what do I mean by personality? Personality essentially is the characteristics and behaviors that are enduring throughout the lifetime. It is a pattern. It is something that, through research, psychologists believe that it is genetic, it's mostly hardwired, and it's relatively permanent, which is unlike our just general thoughts and feelings that change from time to time. What personality is for example, if you were an introvert even when you were 5 years old, chances are when you are 65, you will still be an introvert, meaning that you will still prefer time to yourself. Of course, we learn social skills, so some of the parts can be mitigated, but that's a behavior, that's not a personality characteristic. So for example, introverts, they tend to become a little nervous talking in front of people. Now that's a behavior which, you can learn through public speaking classes to get better at, but it's probably never going to be naturally what feels great inside for the introvert. So that's kind of, in a nutshell, what personality is. And with a 5-factor model says that there are 5 different ways of looking at personality, and we fall on the higher or lower, maybe even the middle side of these 5 factors. So the personality is both kind of like an internal experience that we have, and it is also can come out in our behaviors. All right, so let's talk about the 5 factors. So number 1 would be open-mindedness. So that's people who are inquisitive, curious, like to try new things. And when I mention open-mindedness, again, what we're looking at, there's going to be people that have high open-mindedness, who are going to have a lot of this, and people who are on the low end who's going to have not much of this at all. Then there's number 2, conscientiousness. So these are the people that are going to be about responsibility, duty, keeping their word, foresight. Again, they're going to be the real responsible person. Now, the higher end of conscientiousness would be someone who's a big perfectionist. Conscientious people have a lot of focus. People with ADHD, especially the inattentive type, generally when they take this, they're going to be kind of low in conscientiousness, if that is still something that is a part of them that isn't being helped by, training or through medication, to kind of show how some of this kind of fits together. The next one would be extroversion. So the extrovert is somebody who is talkative, who feels great in crowds. They actually get energized around people. They like to talk. They wouldn't have any problem talking in front of the classroom when you're little and have to give like a solve a math problem on the board or anything like that. They're going to be the natural public speakers, and they don't have any problem sharing their opinions. They typically have a lot of friends. And, on the other hand, you're going to have the ones that on the other end of extroversion, which is going to be the low end, would be, more introverts. Agreeableness. So that is number 4. So those are the people going to be compassionate, empathetic. They're going to be kind. They're going to be likable. And of course, the more that you have that, the greater degree. On the other end of agreeableness would be the people that I guess you can say are more disagreeable. They're harder to get along with. They are maybe a little bit more rigid in their thinking. And then finally, the number 5 is what's called neuroticism. So neuroticism are going to be the people that by their, I guess, their natural constitution will be a little bit more emotionally reactive. They would be more irritable, moody, have a little bit more anxiety, a little bit more emotional instability. Higher end of neuroticism, you're going to have a lot of that. Lower end, not so much. So those are the 5-factor model of where people can fall. And by the way, if you're interested in this, you can find quizzes and things online to take. I took a professional test. It asked me like 150 questions or something, designed by a team of psychologists. So, and my results came out pretty interesting. It was a pretty detailed report. So, since this is a channel about the paranormal and the occult, what would you expect the outcome of if you were to analyze the majority of occultists? And I know some people are going to say, well, everybody's different, even occultists, and that is true. But I'm curious about and there's been no studies on this population, of course. That being said, it's certainly fun to think about and speculate on. Because I've had my observations. One thing, I guess it's a caveat with this, when you're looking at this, is that you have to look at occultists as a group are kind of heterogeneous in the way that there's going to be, this is, I guess, how we define, that's important, the occultists, occultism and things, because there's a lot of different practices, and it's going to be a lot of different types of people. In general, and this research backs this up, is that if there's going to be a female, they're going to have certain characteristics that are going to be a little bit different than males, including in this particular population. For example, you're going to have females are going to score a little bit higher in agreeableness and getting along and being, I guess, pro-social, and men not so much. So that's something to think about. And there's going to be some other minor differences between males and females. But all that being said, let's look at, I guess, my observations. And when I look at, let's break it down to one specific thing. Intuitive readers, card readers, people like that, especially if that is their focus, I find that those people are high in agreeableness, low in extroversion, so they're going to be higher in introversion. They're going to be lower in conscientiousness, and I'm not sure what that's about. It may be the intuitive, artistic energy, which is not math, numbers, and that sort of thing. High in open-mindedness. You would have to get into a lot of alternative, different types of activities like this. And I do find them to be higher in neuroticism. And there are a lot of different ways we can explain that. Does the higher neuroticism somehow make it so that they're more intuitive? Some people are making that argument. I've seen that online. Other people are saying that maybe the nature of dealing with the spirit world, otherworldly energies, has a psychological effect on you. Who knows? But it's fun to think about, like I said. Now, I would expect any type of occultist to be higher in open-mindedness, just because you have to go apart from tradition, in a sense. Now, I'm sure that you could find some type of fundamentalist people that believe, not Christian, but people who believe in their stuff fundamentally. But I think as a group, you're going to find more open-mindedness in general. Now, one thing I've noticed, and by the way, these aren't judgments of any kind. These are just traits, which is how we talk about personality. People that solely focus on the left-handed path, I've noticed that they are higher in let me say lower in agreeableness. So they're going to be kind of like, if we were to say disagreeable in the disagreeable end, more conflict, a little bit more fighting, maybe a little bit more higher in neuroticism, a little bit more irritable and angry. And those are, I guess, my cursory observations of these things. But I'm actually more curious. Let's see, what have y'all noticed? You would have to make this type of judgment by, if you're part of, if you have friends that are into these sorts of things, if you know people in online forums, know them better than just their online persona. What type of personality conclusions could you come from them, knowing them? All right. Well, that is it. Please subscribe and like. Check out the description for the Etsy store, or if you want to connect with me on Patreon to get additional videos and content, I'll put that there too. Thanks so much. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.